is the Pegasus Podcast, presented by Night Sports Now. UCF news, views, and a few hot takes. Now, here are your hosts, Bailey Go Knights Adams and Christian Charge On Simmons.
Welcome into episode 279. Be sure you're following us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCASimmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. You can also email us at PegasusPodcast@gmail.com. Christian, it's August. UCF plays a football game as we're speaking in 24 days exactly. Like 24 days exactly from right now. It is 7:11 p.m. Eastern time on August 4th. 24 days from right now, UCF will be playing a football game at the Bounce House.
Did you know that is incorrect, Bailey, what you just said there?
No.
You did not account for the lightning delay that will almost certainly take place that day. And that will push that game back until like 9:30 p.m.
We haven't had that in a couple years, right?
Yes, we're due.
I don't like you.
Either that or a hurricane and the game doesn't even happen. Like, we'll see. Something. No,
that's saved for the North Carolina game. You don't understand.
Because UCF and North Carolina cosmically cannot play a game. If you're a newer fan, UCF and North Carolina have been trying to play for like 10 years. And
we were supposed to go.
We booked a trip. And What was funny was because the first time UCF was playing at North Carolina in 2018. Bailey and I were like, hell yeah, that'll be cool to go see North Carolina. I like how I said I go to North Carolina, have family there, go all the time, but whatever. And, that had been a bad stretch for hurricanes. UCF had been hurricane affected in 16 and 17. And that year, a hurricane formed. It did not come to Orlando. It went straight for North Carolina. So the game got canceled. UCF and North Carolina, it's okay. The return game was in 2020. I think you all know what happened that year.
I also want to amend that you said at the beginning of this, you said the funny thing is that wasn't really funny that a hurricane hit North Carolina. I should say that.
No, that was not funny at all. I don't think that needs to be said, Bailey. Now you're making me look like a bad guy. That obviously was not a funny thing. And neither was COVID. It was all very terrible. But the point is, expect the apocalypse on what day is that game? September 21st?
September 20th.
On September 19th, buy your canned goods because something's going to happen. So we'll keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm very excited for football to be here. I also, very quickly before we start, I have to ask you a question, Bailey. We are in the platform that we use to do this podcast. It is called StreamYard. Can you, when the intro is playing, can you see me or no?
So I can't, and I just tested to see if you could see me.
So I can see you. And
okay,
that
was a test.
You were doing the UCF hand motions to yourself. And I couldn't tell if you knew that I could watch you doing that or if that was just a little thing for yourself alone in your apartment. So that was
it was kind of both, but quite literally while I was doing it, I was like, I want to see if he says anything because then I'll know whether or not he can see me during the intro. Because I can't see you during it.
Yeah, I can see you. Usually when the intro plays, I just watch you and I'm like, let's see what he's got going on in these 20 seconds.
Weird.
Start.
You've never said anything before though, because normally I do kind of nod my head.
You've never done anything interesting. Sometimes you dance to yourself a little bit as the intro plays, but I've never seen you straight up doing hand motions.
I am high energy. You were just telling me I need to be high energy because
you're like August hits and you're suddenly just UCF, let's go.
Yeah. And also just for the listeners at home, I just finished an hour 15 podcast before this for the Pewter Report podcast, and it was a lot of fun and very enjoyable. We interviewed Tony Dungy.
Okay, I was going to say if you can say it. So you interviewed Tony Dungy. Yeah. So if you had to rank Tony Dungy and me as people to do a podcast with, who would you rank higher?
Tony Dungy is atop my apartment building right now. You're on the floor. I'm sorry. That was mean. Should have just said Tony Dungy 1, you 2. That was kind of mean.
Oh, you were just going to say, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't even have a comeback. You're the only person I podcast with. Yeah. All right. On that note.
Speaking of August being here and football being here, today on Monday was the local media day, player media day, where media was there, got to talk to players. Not much happened. Carter Miller has a giant knight tattoo on his stomach.
If you need to go to Twitter or social media or wherever you get your UCF coverage to go look at this tattoo. It is the entire right side of his body is just a giant Pegasus knight whole thing.
And I said to you, what if he just hates playing here? What if he ends up hating it here?
I was thinking the same thing. What if everything is pointing to he's going to start, and I think probably that tattoo is him being. Well, I'm not going to say that, but it would be funny. He probably had a good idea that he was going to contribute here before getting the tattoo for an entire side of his body. But it would be kind of insane if he got that and then just didn't play. Just becomes a Bula Schmidt situation or something. Not Bula Schmidt, Drake Metcalf situation or something.
Especially with how giant it is. I get if you're the type of person who's it's a tattoo person, I have 4 tattoos, but if you're a big tattoo person And why did you look at me like that?
You have 4 tattoos?
Yes, we've been over this.
Okay.
I have 4 tattoos. But it's like if you're a person that has a lot of tattoos and like you get one that kind of like is significant to like different parts of your life, he could sell that as like, yeah, I spent time at UCF, regardless of how it goes, is part of his journey. It's just
a huge part of his journey. It's like the biggest part of his whole journey.
So if it was a small tattoo, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. It's a giant tattoo. I'm like, wow, that is more.
Did you see he also got it in one sitting, which is crazy for a tattoo.
That is an insane choice as well.
It took 8 hours.
Offensive lineman, kind of known to be insane anyway, so I believe it.
Also, I'm sure I've told this story before, but just as we continue the parallels between 2025 and 2026 being the same season. Back in 2016, it's one of my favorite stories I ever did. I interviewed Caleb Houston and Gage Marcel, the punter and snapper, and the story I did on them was they got, in honor of the team and the season, they got matching lip tats that said punt and snap. And I'm like, I like that somehow it's like all the comparisons between 2016, and we even have player revealing surprise tattoo related to the team right before the season starts.
So who takes the role in 2026 of at Player Media Day, the Jordan Akins role of saying, I want to win all the games? That they can
laughed about that.
That then they can use at the end of the season when they win all their games.
Who's gonna? There's always things I want to say, and then I'm like, can I? It's been so many years. Can I say that? I was gonna say. Anyway,
I don't know what it is.
I was gonna say who's gonna take
Can't
the role
help
of,
you, man.
Who's gonna take the role of Dredrick Snelson saying we're gonna put 70 on East Carolina? Then suddenly
we've talked about that on the show.
Game. I'm sure we've talked about it at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah. Either way,
mysteriously didn't play.
Funny how that happened.
Yeah.
I'm feeling the energy of an approaching football season right now on this podcast, and I'm very excited.
Me too. It's like I'm giddy.
Yeah. We'll see how giddy we are about a month and a half from today. But right now,
like it's funny to feel as giddy as I do. It's football. Like I know. Like I'll say that now because I can romanticize it when there's no games going on and I'm not, hating the sport that I love. But right now it's I don't know. They say hope springs eternal. It's like the poetry, the poetic way people always just use to describe the start of football season, baseball season, everything. So I don't even really feel that hopeful though. I just feel excited.
I don't have hope in the traditional sense. Like I don't believe in things that
I have hope that it'll be fun.
I think I've said this before. I think this season has a higher chance of being fun than the last few seasons because it's the first season in a while where everyone expects them to just be very bad. So if they're not very bad, they don't have to be very good. They just have to not be very bad now, that being said, I can think of ways that they can be not very bad, but the fan base can still be very upset about that. Like if they were to starve, like if I told you right now, UCF is going to finish 7-5, you would be pretty thrilled with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think most people listening to this podcast and a lot of the fans, given where things are at, I think even some of the irrational ones at this point understand that 7-5 would be a huge accomplishment. But if they got to 7-5 by like starting 5-1 and then just collapsing, it would still suck. So I feel like there's still potential for people to be really upset by the end of the season. But I feel like most scenarios end with them either just being as bad as we expected or us being pleasantly surprised. So,
And that was Player Media Day talk. I don't know. There wasn't much to go on. We originally were like, yeah, we'll do a whole segment on this. And then it was just kind of, people said things.
Yeah, there was some interesting stuff, but also a lot of that raw footage is out there that you guys can go watch. Yeah. And we don't really need to break down Taven Jackson saying that UCF has a chip on its shoulder, but yeah.
Right. So this is something that happened right after, or maybe the day after we recorded our last podcast, but it's the fact that UCF hired a general manager for the football team. It is Trent Mossbrucker, who previously worked with Scott Frost at UCF and Nebraska before more recently working under Jeff Brom at Purdue and Louisville as his recruiting coordinator. This was something that Frost has said multiple times recently, like that it was something they were kind of working on because it's a necessity in this day and age of college football. So it happened.
It did, with another Nebraska retread, which we love. But no, all jokes aside, I think it's a perfectly good hire. If you're not like one of the freaks like me who's super obsessed with all of college football, a GM hire, especially going into this season, is just kind of an absolute necessity. I think that if Frost and this staff could do things over again, I think they probably would have liked to have had a GM place much earlier for the spring window and maybe even that December window. And I think we've alluded to some on the podcast. By the end of last season, there were just some wild stories flying around about the things the coaches had to deal with as far as dealing with everything from player retention to how much money players want and things like that. It just kind of became virtually impossible for a head coach to do all the things a head coach does and then also do that. So that's why at this point, I think almost every Power 4 school has hired a general manager. What's interesting is that it's not working the same way at every school, which I find really fascinating because general manager, like you think of that in pro terms. Like I know for like the NBA, which I'm more familiar with, and I'm sure it's the same for the NFL. It's like the general manager typically is above the coach and has control over the coach and things like that. And the coach, plays the team that the GM assembles. That's not how it's working at the vast majority of college football programs. Interestingly, it is at some. I believe Oklahoma hired a GM who his name's right on my head now, the Senior Bowl guy.
Oh, Jim Nagy.
Yeah, he was hired as Oklahoma's GM, and I believe that he is overseeing Venables. Like, he is running that program. So some are doing it like that, but that will not be UCF setup. This is Scott Frost's program. The general manager will report to Frost. He will basically be dealing with all the things like managing the cap and rev share and player negotiations and figuring out, what they have room for and where they need to target, and working with some of the other player personnel guys that UCF had already previously hired and just things of that nature. So it really just frees up all that stuff that had just become literally impossible for a head coach to deal with as they're also trying to coach a team.
Does that make you feel any better about Frost calling plays or no?
No. I mean, yeah, on the surface it should, but like when I had those takes, I was operating under the assumption that they were going to hire a general manager. Like I think we've known this was coming basically since spring. It doesn't change that the job of being head coach has changed. Like I want to be very clear that this doesn't mean that Scott Frost just gets to outsource everything that isn't coaching the team. He still has to deal with, because what the general manager is more managing and what the general manager is supposed to do is you have a situation where, if Scott Frost is like getting ready for, I don't know, the Kansas State game or something, and some player comes into his office and goes, I'm mad because, this guy's starting over me and I'm starting over this guy and I'm making less money than him. I want more money and I'm not going to play or something like that. I'm making up a scenario. And now in the old days, Frost is now dealing with that. And now the idea is that conversation would be with the GM, and the GM is the one who's figuring that stuff out. The GM is doing a lot of the heavy lifting of what money they have to work with, what players they can go after from a retention perspective, who's worth keeping, who's not, with the money you have to go with, but still the assembling the roster and actually figuring out who you're going to place where, and managing the culture and managing those relationships, and above all, managing relationships with boosters where that money comes from. That still all falls on Frost. It's the case at a lot of schools. I'm assuming it's the case at UCF too. Just because you have a GM, a booster's given a lot of money is still going to want to hear Scott Frost say he needs the money. He's not going to want to hear it from a GM he has never met before. I'm sure the GM will build those relationships over time, but you know how this stuff works. If the money is exchanged for clout and power, and that doesn't come from a faceless GM, it comes from the head coach of the football team. So, I mean, this will be better than if they didn't hire one, but they had to hire one, and we knew that was coming.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I'm not as in tune with Elevate as you are, obviously. So were they one of the last ones to make the hire?
I wouldn't say one of the last ones, but I don't know. Are they tied? Because this offseason was the offseason where that really took off, because it really coincided with rev share.
I'm just saying, because if most P4 programs have one now, UCF just hired theirs last week. They've got to be one of the last ones.
That's the way to interpret it. But
that's interesting.
I just find it, and again, it's not specifically tied to UCF, so you don't have to get super deep into it, but I am super fascinated by how different schools are managing that role. Like, I find it very fascinating that there are now college football programs where there is a middleman between the athletic director and the head coach. I also don't want to speak completely out of turn. I'm pretty sure Stanford hired
Andrew Luck,
and I believe he actually is over the athletic director as well. I believe he controls both the athletic director and all the coaches report to him. So every school is kind of trying different models here. It's super.
You just read my mind. Because I was just about to say, not to put you on the spot, but I was just curious because I know it's Andrew Luck. I was like, do you know how Andrew Luck is doing it? And you said it anyway. So look at us.
That's me. I just know all the things. Not, I'm bad at figuring out how to pay taxes, but Andrew Luck's doing as the general manager of Stanford, I have right off the cuff.
Oh, what? I don't know. Never mind. I can't tell that story because I don't even know what the story is. I was just going to say, I had a moment recently, I think it was over the weekend, where I remembered something so stupid. And I was like, why do I know that? I'm like, I don't need, I could have room in my head for so many other things than some of the things that I choose to remember, but it's fine. Oh, it was a random player on the Bucks that where he went to college, and I was just off the top of my head, I was like, yeah, Bowling Green. I don't know. It's dumb that I knew that so quickly. But speaking of knowing things and not knowing things, we're gonna do our 2025 preseason awards, and I wish I had actually gone back and done this because I've made some really bad decisions as to who to give these awards to in past preseasons.
Do you have mine or no? Because I don't have.
No, I don't have either of ours.
Oh, thank God! I'm sure I was fine.
I don't, but I'm sure you really feel, you gave me the impression there that you knew you were fine when you looked at me like you had just seen.
I'm going to try to find mine really quickly while you talk. Oh, I found last year's. Oh God. Okay.
Well, now I kind of want to find mine while you talk. So it seems we've reached an impasse.
Okay. Did you say what this is, or should we?
Preseason awards is what I said.
We're doing preseason awards. Sorry. Sometimes when Bailey talks, I forget to listen. We're doing preseason awards. Last year, just so you guys know how accurate these are going to be, my offensive
Tony
MVP.
Dungy would never say that to me.
I don't like that I'm in like a rivalry with Tony Dungy.
You brought it up. You said who's better to podcast with.
Does Tony Dungy have Twitter?
I think so. Yeah, he does.
I'm gonna tweet him and be like, "I'm coming for you." Like I'm gonna top the rankings here. My offensive MVP last year when we did this podcast was none other than KJ Jefferson. I know what you're thinking, Christian. How did you not pick RJ Harvey? Don't worry, I have a note here because I said he's going to split his reps with Penny Boone, so his stats might not look that impressive. Defensive MVP was Ethan Barr, who the whole fan base grew to love over the course of last season. Breakout transfer was Jacoby Jones, which if we're only counting the second half of last year, that one kind of came true. And breakout freshman was Chasen Johnson. I absolutely crushed that one. Good luck to him at USC.
Well, I'm doing a horrible job because I can't find mine from last year. They aren't in my notes app on my phone, so I'm looking in this notebook that I used to use, and it's not in there either. So I don't know where it is. But yeah, I'm sure I probably picked Kate. No, I think I might have picked RJ.
I remember you picking. Oddly enough, I picked RJ in 2023, and then I came back for 2024 and was like, nah. So I really knew what I was doing there.
Well, I was looking at 2022 actually for some reason, and I had Ryan O'Keefe being the MVP on offense, which I don't believe that happened. I had newcomer of the year being Kobe Perry, and I don't think that really happened. And I had breakout player of the year as Jalen Griffin. I can't put my brain, or I can't put myself back in to July 20th, 2022 to make me remember why I picked Jalen Griffin as the breakout player of the year.
I don't even remember what my life was like back then.
No idea.
So basically the point we're illustrating here is whatever you're doing right now, buckle up.
Listen to the rest of the podcast
because we're about to explain to you exactly how 2024 is going to play out, or 2025, whatever year this is. I want to give you another example of that really quickly before we do this. The coaches poll came out today.
Yeah.
And I texted you because I said, hey, how cool is this? There are 5 Big 12 teams in the coaches poll. And I was very excited about that because I thought that was like nice, and it was like the teams you'd expect it to be. Like it was, like Arizona State and all that. And I wanted to see how it compared to last year. And I found out that there were also 5 in the preseason coaches poll last year. And those 5 were number 13, Utah, number 17, Kansas State, number 18, Oklahoma State, number 21, Arizona, and number 24, Kansas. And the one thing that from that list that Utah, Kansas State, Arizona, and Kansas have in common is that none of them went to a bowl. So it's a good reminder that at this point in the year, we are so sure we know what is going to happen and who the good teams are going to be and who the good players are and how things are going to shake out. And we don't know a freaking thing. And I think that's beautiful.
Let me ask you on the podcast what I then asked you in response to that text. Which of this year's teams that are in the coaches poll in the top 25 preseason is not going to make a bowl this year? And you can give me a different answer than the one you texted me, but I'm just going to say the one you texted me.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't recall us having this conversation.
Yeah. Christian told me that of the teams, it's Arizona State, Kansas State, Iowa State, BYU, and Texas Tech. He said BYU like 2 weeks after wanting me to leave the podcast forever for saying maybe BYU is not going to be as good as they were last year. And maybe they weren't as good as their record said they were last year. And you got angry and wanted me to, I don't know. You were mad at me.
I'm going to just pull that is a lie.
It's not. All right. We don't have to do
that. That is accurate. I did now in total fairness, I did change my answer to Iowa State shortly after, but mainly just because I didn't want my answer to be BYU. Yeah, I would.
And then I don't think you alerted me of this change of your answer, did you?
I texted you about it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you said Iowa State's schedule's really hard, and then I think I ignored that. I don't know. We've had there were multiple times today. This happens a lot. Again, we'll get to the preseason awards in a second, but you and I text a lot every day, pretty much. And there's some times where we kind of have like one conversation going. Today was one of those days where we had like 2 or 3 different conversations going at the same time, and that happens sometimes. And today was one of them. So I don't even know. I might have seen something else and then texted you and ignored the Iowa State thing.
I don't know why I keep showing people on the podcast what a freak I am, but I'm realizing now that you didn't respond to at 2 nights ago at 11:35 p.m. I sent you 8 photos of Vanderbilt's gold pants.
I saw it the next morning when I woke up. I was actually
because they were in different lighting than we'd seen them before, and I wanted your take. But anyway, we can now get on with our preseason awards.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I realized what I said back to you is you saying that Iowa State plays at Arkansas State for some reason. And I said, Terry. And then that was my takeaway from their schedule being harder.
We're going to do Pegasus Podcast Plus for $5 a month. You can just read our texts. We'll just make a group chat that you're in. You're not allowed to text us, but you can just see what's going on. It's going to be great.
Oh, gosh. We're not to that level. I know like there's a celebrity thing where it's like, oh, text this number and I respond. And it's not like actually them. I don't think it is anyway.
It's not.
Offensive MVP. Who's your offensive MVP in the preseason?
Oh, no. I was thinking
that was a bad way to ask that question.
Who's your offensive MVP in the preseason? Mine is none other than preseason extraordinaire Jaden Nixon.
Okay.
UCF's
we do match up.
Superstar running back who will certainly not be a disappointment, because if there's one thing that has not happened in our time having UCF podcast, it's been a transfer running back from the MAC. Disappointing. So, yeah, it'll be Jaden Nixon.
I also went with Jaden Nixon. I was wondering, because we've talked a lot about how much we're rooting for Miles Montgomery to have a really good year, and I think he will. So I was wondering if you were going to maybe go Miles, but I went with Jaden over Miles because the proven production is there more so than it is for Miles. And then obviously this could change in a second, but Miles had some injury issues last year, so that's fresh in my mind. Whereas I'm like, oh, can he stay healthy the whole year? I hope he does. But yeah, Jaden Nixon, all MAC last year, 919 yards, 11 touchdowns at Western Michigan. I think him and Miles, I'm pretty sure, are going to run this offense pretty much. Because we don't know what's going to happen at quarterback or in the passing game. Or
on O-line. We actually don't know anything except that these two are on the team. That's kind of it. But I did think it was interesting and potentially sad because Scott Frost at his presser like a week ago, whenever ago that was, talked about how Miles had kind of been living in RJ Harvey's shadow a little bit and how now he has an opportunity to sort of come out of that. And I sort of found myself thinking, or he's just going to end up in Jaden Nixon's shadow a little bit. And I don't think that the difference is nearly as dramatic between these two as it obviously was between RJ Harvey, who's at worst, a top 5 player in school history, probably.
Yeah.
But Jaden Nixon he's an what happened?
No, I'm just thinking, where does he that's another
next offseason, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jaden Nixon is just a really explosive player who has a really, really good resume and apparently has looked pretty solid through spring and now here in the fall. And you truly never know until you get out there against other teams. But I just feel like this is a guy who, one thing the offense is going to have to figure out this year, just because of how much turmoil there is I remember in 2021 when all the injuries hit, and the offense was just kind of this mess, and Gabriel was out and a bunch of starters were out, that Gus's whole obsession was just we have to find who the playmaker is. We have to find someone who we can just get the ball into their hands and they will make things happen regardless of what play we call. And it ended up being Ryan O'Keefe, funnily enough. And that did make a big difference, especially in the second half of that season. And it feels like, just given what we know about quarterback and how many question marks there are, they do need to find someone who's going to be that playmaker, a guy who can just change the game when you get the ball in his hands. And I'm not saying Jaden Nixon is that level of star. I don't necessarily think he is, but I think if you had to ask me right now to list those players and those options, I think he's number one on that list of who might become that or who has the potential to.
Yeah, I mean, two things on that is one, what did you just call him, a preseason superstar or something? Because he's the one that's on all these watch lists. Yeah, he's on all these watch lists. I think he might have been. Was he? No, he wasn't on preseason All Big 12 second team, was he? Because I don't think.
No, but I don't believe anyone was, because the Big 12 is currently not accepting UCF as a program that exists. So
yeah. So there was that, and there's also I did this for all of these categories that we're talking about, and I listed who my other options might have been, and I could only come up with Miles, because other than that, I mean, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
I have a little bit of a sleeper.
Is it a Dylan Wade?
Oh yeah, it's Dylan Wade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, because he's the other one. I didn't even list him, but I was like, I don't know. It's a dumb thing for me to say this, because I think the position has completely changed in the last few years, especially. But I would have had a hard time picking a tight end to be the offensive MVP, which he totally could be.
Especially in college, I would not have had a hard time with that. It would have been a little out there to pick.
I guess with what we've seen lately, like Brock Bowers obviously would have been that at Georgia. I think it's more rare than a running back being.
Yeah, but you have to look at it through the lens of UCF, who currently does not have a wide receiver at all.
or a quarterback. That's the problem. I think. Dylan Wade's going to have to break out, and he's depending on one of these three quarterbacks. And I guess these running backs and Jaden and Miles are both depending on the offensive line to be serviceable. But I believe in that, I think, more than.
I think the greatest, if you had to pick Dylan Wade, like if I'd picked Dylan Wade, my entire argument would have been that video where he just put Damari Henderson into the ground that they tweeted. Or I don't think the UCF tweeted that. Actually, really, I'm certain UCF did not tweet that. I think it was several folks who had access posted that video.
Are you talking about the one where it would have absolutely been a penalty?
Yes, I am. Why are you turning around on me? Because you seemed really impressed by that, and then I was like, "That's a penalty if that happens."
No, my first thought was that it was a penalty.
Yeah, like a blatant penalty. And this is also on the heels of one of the open. I'm sure we talked about this at the back in the spring. One of the open practices for spring that we went to. I don't remember what player it was, but they did some kind of one-on-one drill. And can you hear that thunder? Just out of curiosity. Okay, it's storming here pretty bad. And Dylan Wade, I don't remember what exactly happened, but he burned this player badly. And Dylan Wade would not stop talking trash to him, like in his face, talking trash. Like if this were a real game, 8 or 9 flags could have been thrown in the amount of time he kept talking. And it got so bad, the player he did that to went to kind of stand off alone, and Frost had to come over and cheer him up and talk to him and get his head back in the game. So that was my first exposure to Dylan Wade, and my next was him again putting Damari Henderson into the ground. So I suspect that he is going to accrue some penalties this year, but also probably be very good. So that's fun, I guess.
Yeah. But again, there are not a lot of candidates on offense. I think there's more on defense. So that's good.
Why don't we go on over to defense?
Yeah, defensive MVP. I went with Philip Dunham, who is a transfer from FAU. He's had, and again, I always get in trouble talking about this because we've talked on this podcast in the past about how interceptions can be random to an extent. Because there was the season that. Well, yeah, and then Richie Grant in the one season had 7 or 8, I think, and the next season he had 1. So it's hard to do this, but then I'll immediately turn around and say, well, this guy, he had 3 interceptions each of the last 2 seasons, which again could be completely random, but I think there's some ball hawk in him. We've heard good things about him all spring. The way he's performing in practice, other players are talking about him, coaches are talking about him. And I think just the position he's going to be playing at safety, I think he's going to have an opportunity to make a lot of plays more so than a corner would. And I think he'll come up and run support. And I can see him among others, as somebody who we look at the end of the season and say, yeah, that was the best player on the defense.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight you on this pick at all. My windows are rattling. It's thundering so loud here.
Really?
So I'm staying on mute a little bit.
I'll say the dumb thing that I was going to say is when I heard the thunder, I was like, oh, that's weird. And I looked out my window and I was like, it's not really going to storm out here. And we are 105 miles away, I think, from each other.
Yeah, we live in slightly different. This is my fault because I said the thing about the storm for the first game and then immediately a thunderstorm descended upon my apartment. I'm not going to even remotely fight with Philip Dunham is not my pick, but I will not even going to remotely fight with you on that. I think unsurprisingly, one of the key indicators of who's going to be good is who the coaches will not stop talking about. Yeah. And Philip Dunham is probably the guy on the team who's gotten the most praise from the coach at this point publicly. And obviously he was someone who we were hearing great things about during spring. That continuing to fall. He's a guy who can make plays for them in a lot of different ways. I think that's a great pick. I think that's a great pickup. And it's kind of funny because I do think there's a bit of, we've learned to say that the transfer portal is an inexact science does not even come close to explaining how confusing it is and how nothing ever works out the way it does. And I do think there's a sense among fans still of just you see his route was Indiana to FAU and you just assume that means that he's not going to be a factor. I seriously think he is going to be at worst one of the top 3 players on defense this year. I think that is very obvious at this point. Yeah, I think that's a very good pick.
Yeah. Let's hear yours.
My pick, assuming the thunder will stop and allow me to speak, would be none other than returning player Nigel Kelly, coming off a year with 53 tackles, including 10 TFLs, 5.5 sacks. My lights just flicker.
Oh my gosh.
I actually really wish I had time better. I want to be like, my pick is Nigel Kelly. Boom, boom, and the thunder hits. But this is cool. I wish this would stop at some point. But yeah, my pick's Nigel Kelly. He's a guy who he obviously had a huge year last year, as we just talked about. He's a guy who did not have to come back. I think he had a lot of opportunities, probably for more money that he's getting here, to go elsewhere, pretty much all over the country, I think. And he's here. And I think that's great. We talked so much this offseason about all the unknowns. He is a known. He is a guy where that he's going to have a strong season, that he can be that game-breaking player who can make a difference for them on every play. And that's exciting.
Yeah, he was my runner-up pick. He was the next one I had thought about. I considered him, and then I really would say I only considered him and Dunham, and then the other three I would throw in there as potential, I won't say stars, but I guess, potential stars of this defense, being Kelly Lawson at linebacker, John Walker, of course, we know what the expectations are for him, and then Malachi Lawrence. We also kind of know what we're getting in Malachi Lawrence as well. So, that's why it kind of speaks to like what we've been talking about all offseason, where it's like the defense has a group of guys that we know. Like there's far more knowns on this defense than the offense we just talked about has maybe one or two things that we know, and that's it out of 11 spots and all the different concepts. Like we just don't know much of anything. And then the defense is like, oh yeah, there's that guy, like feel so much better about the defense.
Do you think, let me get crazy here for a second, because this is what the early August pods are for. I think I, in my brain, just accidentally put together a way that I talked myself into UCF being very good, which is lunacy, and I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm wrong. But I just had the thought to myself, I was going to say out loud, if UCF just had an average offense to pair with this defense, I think they could do some really cool stuff. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, this could work out to be an average offense. So now I've convinced myself that there is a path to UCF going 8-4 or something like that.
Yeah, no, I wish I could talk you off of that, but I've been having the same kind of thought. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it could. Like that's kind of where I am with it. I don't think it's offense going to be very good. I don't think it's going to be. I don't know. It could be awful. I don't think it's going to be awful. And I guess the way that doesn't happen is the offense is not even okay, and the defense isn't as good as we think it's going to be. But no, I mean, I can't talk you off of that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like you said, it could totally be like this is college football. We all think we know everything. Like we could get out there and the defense just isn't good. But there are so many playmakers on defense and so many guys we feel good about, like especially on like the D line alone just is shaping up to be incredible. And I just don't buy there being some dramatic drop off that we're not expecting. So really I don't know. The offense is just, you look at all the preseason stuff out there, because basically every website that does any ranking of the Big 12, you go check it and UCF is like 16th or 15th with like Oklahoma State usually, or maybe Arizona. No one can get mad about that. That is totally fair from what we know now. It's 70 new players. It's a complete roster turnover. It's a new head coach, a head coach who just had a very bad time the last time he was a head coach in college football. But then when you read the blurbs, the defense never really comes up. It's always just kind of like, there's nothing on offense. This team's going to be bad. It's like, okay. I mean, the defense really might be pretty freaking good. So I don't know. Maybe there's a path here, and we'll just have to see.
Yeah, there could be. There's this, again, this is a team full of transfers. What is Frost has been saying? There's like 60 new players, I think. 68, 70. There you go. So a bunch of transfers, lot to pick from here, but your breakout transfer.
My breakout transfer, this is going to be quick, was Philip Dunham from FAU. I'm hearing good things. I don't know. I'm starting to think that he might even be the best player on defense. Some are saying. Who knows?
Some are saying he might be the defensive MVP this year.
Yeah, some are saying that. I don't know if we need to repeat our Philip Dunham talk.
Well, do you still have the Alex Grinch quote? You've messed up my brain on Alex Grinch.
Okay, wait, just pulling back the curtain. By the way, I read those quotes to you and then just X that out. That was from Brandon Hellig, posted an article with Alex Grinch.
Right after you said, it would be good podcasting is if I had this quote up. You read it to me and then closed it.
And then I X'd it out and then I closed it. So for a little behind the scenes, again, if you want to pay $5 a month, you can see these as they happen. I texted Bailey about Alex Grinch and I called him Alex Golish a few days ago. And at the time I was like, I can't believe my phone autocorrected Grinch to Golish. And then while we were getting ready for this podcast, I once again called him Alex Golish. So I just,
And then when I said Alex Grinch just now, my brain, as I was saying Grinch, was like, wait, no, is that the wrong one? And I can't, like, this can't be a thing.
In my defense, Alex Golish is a name I've had to know for many more years than I've had to know Alex Grinch. Alex Grinch is a very recent addition to having to be a part of my brain. But anyway, he was asked about players who would stand out, and he really hyped up Philip Dunham. He said, this is from an article on on3.com by Brandon Hellig. He's one to highlight because of the productivity he had for us in the spring, getting hands on footballs and putting himself in a position to be a playmaker defensively. Those things were pretty evident pretty early. You can see he's an experienced football player. He's played a little bit in his past. You have to show an understanding of where you need to be, when you need to be there, and what's around you. He understands the system, and we're excited to see his progress this fall. That's pretty glowing. It's also, if you guys have been around long enough or you follow any sport, really, the game, the coaches typically don't like to single out players that heavily, especially this early, unless they're like a bona fide superstar and they're just throwing out quotes. So like for this defense kind of still coming together and for the DC to call out this guy and say that kind of stuff bodes well.
Yeah. To make it that clear that you're like, hey, we're depending on this guy a lot this year. Like that is going to be a good thing.
We haven't gotten team captains yet. Would not be surprised at all if he is one of them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That should be soon-ish. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't
Probably
know
not,
because
actually.
every coach does it different, but Frost was asked about it and he kind of implied he was talking a lot about how they need to do a better job of like empowering the players. I think he sounded a little disappointed that the leaders hadn't emerged already, but I also don't think when there's this much roster turnover that's a huge surprise because so much of that is seniority, like especially in the transfer era. So often it's like a lot of the captains, just the guys who have been there, have been playing for 2-3 years or something like that. And obviously this is a different situation.
We should just on the fly try to like guess who they're going to be. Like Paul Rubel's going to end up being one of them.
How many captains do you think?
Maybe like 4. There.
Okay, Paul Rubel.
Yeah. Miles Montgomery.
Davy Belfort.
Stop.
Okay. I think, all right, let's do 2 offense, 2 defense. I agree with Paul Rubel. I think we're good there. Philip Dunham. And I don't know. Either Nigel Leak or Malachi. No. John Walker, maybe not. Kelly Lawson. Kelly Lawson could be one.
He's another transfer,
Kelly Lawson.
but could be Kelly Lawson.
All right, congrats to Kelly Lawson on being named a.
These are our 4 Pegasus Podcast captains for the season.
I feel like we're missing someone obvious on defense, but I can't think of who it would be.
Braden Marshall, maybe. I don't know.
I'm gonna go with Kelly Lawson. Shout out Kelly Lawson.
Yeah, I always liked having a linebacker as a captain. Like
I'm gonna tweet. I'm gonna be like UCF's team captains announced just now on the Pegasus Podcast.
As first reported by the Pegasus Podcast.
Philip Dunham, Kelly Lawson, Miles Montgomery, and Paul Rubel.
That would be so confusing. I guess I want to make a graphic, but it would be very confusing if we put out like a Pegasus Podcast captains.
I will say, whenever the captains get announced, if there's 4 of them and it's those 4. I'm going to be really obnoxious about it, like both on this podcast and probably on social media. Like we will post the clip.
We'll clip this and then
sit here and do it. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
We're not there at all, like in the locker room or while they're doing the program. But we were able to pick out the 4 captains.
I can't wait for like the team captain's tweet drops and I go click on it all excited. And it's like captain number 1, Noe Rulos or whatever.
Yeah. They also could be way more than 4. I don't really know how they
it could be 8, 9, 10.
Sure. I hope not. My breakout transfer, since we're still on that. Sincere Edwards. Unfortunately for Sincere, I'm putting so much stock and faith in him being really good. And I have worked myself, I guess, to put it into pro wrestling terms, I've worked myself into a shoot here because we did a mailbag like way back early spring, and somebody asked, like, it was around the draft, I think. They said, like, who on this team can get drafted in the future? And my like dark horse pick was Sincere Edwards. And so in my brain for the rest of the summer, I've just been like, future NFL player. He's gonna be that guy. And I do, part of me does really believe that, but part of me also, I think, has let that run a little wild. But even still, I mean, 3 sacks as a true freshman at Pitt last year. He's not necessarily going to be a starter to start this season because they've got Malachi Lawrence and Nigel Kelly, but I think he's going to be a big part of the rotation.
Yep.
I think he'll have a chance to kind of break out this year and almost use this almost as a platform year where like next year he's a full-time starter with potential, like all conference potential. I think that's there. So yeah, I'm trying to, it's escaping me. The example of this happening in the past. I think was it Malachi? Might have been 2023 where the starting outside guys were Steliscar and
Tremont Morris-Brash.
Malachi
Lawrence kind of ran Steliscar out of the rotation a little bit,
right?
Which was kind of crazy to see.
I don't know that that's going to happen because I think I'm very high on Malachi, but I could see by the end of the season, Sincere Edwards getting a lot of maybe Malachi's snaps, and you never know with injuries too. Like he's the next guy up on injuries, but I don't know. I believe in him a lot, and that might be a bad thing for him, but I hope it's not.
There are very few things from the Gus era that we're going to look back on fondly. Perhaps no things at all. But there were some moments in recruiting where you just really felt like something special was happening here. And that is the one thing that Gus did. And like we've talked about, he then unfortunately for some reason did that and was like, but I don't think we should play any of these guys. But I do, for all the nonsense that happened in those 4 years, I do like that there's a situation right here, right now, and it warms my heart where I'm going to see that D-line, and I'm going to see John Walker, and I'm going to see Sincere Edwards, and I'm going to see Isaiah Nixon. And that's freaking cool. And yeah, all those guys are varying levels of ready to be the guy this year, but just seeing those guys with UCF is awesome. And I think the D-line is just as a unit is going to be fantastic. And Yeah, Sincere had an awesome true freshman season. Like, that was excellent production for a true freshman. I'm also laughing because Pat Narduzzi, Pitt's coach, at Media Day said they didn't lose anyone to the portal who they didn't want here, which is like such a 2022 thing to say about the portal. I love that there are still a handful of coaches pretending that, but yeah, I can't argue with you on that pick one bit.
Other options. I should have said that I didn't pick Philip Dunham for this because I didn't want to repeat, obviously.
Sure.
But obviously you picked him. Other options I had was Dylan Wade, who we just talked about. Then I put probably one of the wide receivers, maybe like whoever ends up potentially being the number one wide receiver might be a transfer. Again, Kelly Lawson I'll mention, or could be another linebacker. I mean, they've got 4 or 5 transfer linebackers in there. Again, varying degrees of playing time coming out of those guys, I'm sure. But I think Kelly Lawson is just the name right now that's kind of emerged as – I mean, he's the one that went to media days and all that stuff. So I think he's probably the safest pick of those linebackers. But
I agree.
Yeah, and then our last category is breakout freshmen. This is my turn to go up first, but I'm very curious. I'll just say this. I'm very curious to hear what yours is going to end up being, because before the podcast, you told me you wanted to just say that there's not going to be one. So I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. I kind of went with just maybe some of the hype, and this is maybe a hard pick to defend given what they have at the position, but I picked Tavion Swint. They already have, of course, Jaden Nixon and Miles Montgomery, but I'm trying to operate under the premise like Frost uses multiple backs. I think if he is as good as we think he's going to be, and again, they have Stacey Gage too, so I don't know if they're going to use 4, but we'll see. I think they might find ways to use all these guys in different ways, I hope. And I have more hope for that under Frost than I did under Gus now. And I think the bar might not be high for the freshman class because like there's not a lot of options here. So he could run for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns, and I'll be like, he was probably the best freshman. But I think he has a chance to establish himself as a long-term star for UCF if those still exist in this era. I don't really know. But yeah, I think there's been some positive buzz around him too, which helps.
There's definitely been positive buzz.
Yeah.
Couple things really quickly. The first thing is I have to defend my off-air comment a little bit here. I'm not saying I think all the freshmen suck or that they're not going to be any good. Keep in mind, this was the freshman class that completely fell apart because Gus left.
Right.
It is a very small class. There are guys in this class that I like and could be something long-term, but trying to pinpoint someone, like there is a very real chance that just no true freshmen. I mean, I'm not saying don't contribute, but none of them really like have some super standout season just because of the size of the class and the nature of this sort of years.
You might see flashes. You might see flashes, but you won't see like, oh, that guy had a great true freshman season.
Yeah. I'm hesitant on Swint for the reason you said off the top. I'm not going to say it's an overly deep room, but like between Nixon and Montgomery and even Stacey Gage, who we've heard a lot of positive stuff about too, I'm kind of like Tavion Swint might be like the guy in a couple years. I'm just not totally sure where the reps come this year, but to your point, maybe like he has like 106 yards and that's like the only freshman who did anything. But my pick, which is just a total shot in the dark, just covering my eyes and throwing at the dartboard, is Waden Charles. And my reasoning for it is he's a guy who I don't know. I'm not saying that we haven't, but like we were definitely hearing a good chunk about him at spring. I don't know how much we've heard through fall so far, but he was a fairly highly rated 3-star. He flirted with being a 4-star at times. He was one of those guys who chose to stick with UCF. The reason I can talk myself into Waden Charles is just because all of wide receiver is up for grabs right now. Like nothing is established there, and that's bad. But I do think there's an opportunity there for that might be the position where there's an easiest path to the field for guys like Waden Charles, guys like Carl Jenkins to sort of step up into roles now if some of the older guys on the team don't emerge or don't take that leap. So that was kind of my rationale there, but it's a complete and utter shot in the dark.
No, but I agree with you because I almost did the same thing. I just couldn't really decide between Carl Jenkins or Waden Charles. So I was like, whoever I pick, it's going to be the other one. So I don't even want to do it. But I remember, like we heard good things about Waden in the spring ball, and I remember there's a specific video with a practice that Gabriel Davis was at. I remember he took a liking to Waden Charles. Just some of the, I guess, because I went back and watched that video, and like on the reps that Charles took, it wasn't anything like over the top crazy. It was like little, excuse me, the 2 hours of podcasting is catching up to my voice. But it was like kind of the details of some of the route running stuff that he was doing, stuff that he was little things that like I really went back and watched and I was like, let me watch that play again to see what Gabe is praising here. But yeah, so that was the thing for Waden. And I, again, you're right. There are no established wide receivers. So it could be both Carl Jenkins and Waden Charles. The idea of them hitting on both of those guys right off the bat, this is hard to believe, but I don't know. There was those two guys, and then Tony Williams and Raheem Strouder on the defense were two that I gave some thought to, but I decided I think Swint might have been like the maybe easy pick.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
You might end up being right. I just, like I said, the bar could end up being super low. I'm kind of banking on, like, this is a competition. I win money from you or something if this works my way. But I feel like I'm just banking on wide receiver is just such a complete toss-up that there's like a chance that he can get in there. But yeah, Tavion, you never know. Tavion might also just force their hand a little bit. Running back is a position where guys can get good pretty quick. So you never know. But yeah.
I like that. I like his nickname is Chick. That's funny to me.
Chick. That's a good nickname.
Have
you ever had a nickname, Bailey?
Have I ever had a nickname?
Yeah.
Well, from my parents, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't really think of like an actual.
I don't recall ever really calling you by a nickname, so I just wasn't sure. But okay.
You're not one of the people that calls me Bales, are you?
Oh, I do call you Bales. Yeah, never mind. Okay, yes, you have a nickname.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I don't know if I've ever called you that in person. I refer to you that way in text most of the time because apparently my brain is like, this will be shorter than typing EY.
2 more letters. Or 1 more letter, actually.
1 more letter, a single more letter. But yeah. So there you go.
Oh, no, I was going to say the first person that I think I heard refer to Swint as Chick was RJ Harvey at the Combine.
I want it to be, and I know this isn't the case, but wouldn't it be funny if that was not his nickname and RJ Harvey just for some reason called him that and like that's his nickname now?
I asked RJ about like the running back room, and I didn't expect him to say anything about Tavion because I was just like they didn't really overlap much or anything. Like they might have met, but he mentioned Miles obviously, and then I don't even know if he mentioned Jaden Nixon because I don't think he really knew him yet. But he said like they got Stacy, he goes they got Lil Chick, and I was like Chick. I'm like is that? And then I went to Tavion Swint's Twitter, and I think Chick is on his Twitter.
I think it is.
Twitter display name or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, that's his nickname, Tavion Chick Swint. Tavion Chick Swint. Yeah, but funny little anecdote, I guess. I don't know how we're supposed to end that segment, but
that was the most, like, what's the? Oh no, his name's out of my head. What's the guy who would do the really like ASMR style painting with the crazy hair?
Bob Ross. I
feel like that was a very Bob Ross moment, and then you finished it, and you're just like, that was a nice little anecdote there. Just, happy little treat.
I look forward to us being completely right on all of these guys and not having any embarrassing.
If we get a single one wrong, we're ending the podcast. So you better root for our success.
All right. Sure. Football news. UCF fans wear is back. Fans are being asked to wear white for Jacksonville State, black for North Carolina A&T, black for UNC, white for Kansas, a fan's choice for the homecoming game, which is West Virginia, Canaveral blue or black for Houston, black for Oklahoma State, and black for any away games. What? Why'd you look at me like that?
Is that correct?
Is that not correct? What are you taking issue with?
Hold on, I'm trying to find it now.
I want to know what you're taking issue with. Or just don't say anything. This is a podcast after all.
You're correct.
Okay.
No, you're not correct.
What?
Yeah, you're not correct. Kansas is not white. Kansas is also fans' choice.
Wait, what?
Because I remember finding it confusing that they're doing back-to-back games of fans' choice.
Why did I think they were doing white?
Because there's a white shirt for the icon, but it says
that is so dumb.
Yes. So
that's not my fault. I'm blaming not me.
I don't know what's going on this year, man. The UNC game theme is Big 12 versus ACC. Then we get to the middle of the schedule, and they just are suddenly like, we actually don't care what you wear for these two games.
Fans wear whatever you want.
All right, should we do our annual thing? If you're a new listener, we bring this up every year. Should we do our annual thing, Bailey?
Yeah, I guess. It's never going to happen, apparently. Yeah, the idea all along for me, and I think for you, I don't know if we came to this. Did we come to this like as a? I think it was more a you thing,
but you've convinced me because it just makes so much more sense than this.
What they should do with this, instead of just doing it by game, they should do, well, it's still by game, but every time there's a night game, do a blackout. Every time there's a day game, do a whiteout.
That's it, man.
It's so simple. But yeah, I now that I say that for the like 8th year in a row, maybe, not 8 years, but for a long time in a row, they probably don't want to do that because the black and gold are their colors.
There's no gold in here.
I know that.
There's not a wear gold game. There hasn't been since I was like 11. It's fine. It's so this is dumb. It's like, okay, here's what we want you to do.
Hey.
Please wear white, then wear black again. Then for 2 games, wear whatever you want, then go back to wearing black. Like, what are we doing?
Hey, though, listen, it's not as dumb as it used to be.
No,
when they tried to do that, when it was like 2016 was the first time, right?
2016,
they tried to do like the
UCF
moat.
was trying some new stuff, which I think is fine. And they were trying things like they would do like the moat, like lower deck wears black and upper deck wears white. They had some really weird ones. They were like end zones wear gold, upper deck wears black, lower deck wears white. What really hurt them on that is, I'm not saying it was a bad idea, but they chose to do it I showed you a photo of like the moat game. And there were like 20,000 people there. So that cut into it a little bit. But enough with this. Black for night games, white for day games. Everyone wants this. Mm-hmm. We've polled ourselves and we are representative of the fan base. Everyone wants this.
I also saw somebody make a point that I agreed with, that I understand why they don't do it, because this is an athletic program. Well, actually, no, I don't know if I understand it, but maybe it's harder than I'm going to make it sound. Okay. But because it's an athletic program that always says like we don't have any money. But I'm surprised they never do like a giveaway shirt where they put all the shirts in seats like they do in other sports. But I was going to say,
you're surprised the athletic program that made fans pay to stop playing a song.
The reason I say it is definitely going to be harder than I say it is, but the way those things usually work is it's not the program or it's not the school or the team that pays for it.
It's a sponsorship.
Sponsor.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. I don't know if that's just something they haven't offered or if it's just something.
Is that a thing in college football in general? I feel like I see that in like basketball a lot.
I don't know.
How often I see it in football.
They've done it. I see it in the NFL sometimes. I don't know. I've seen it in different ways, but I'm just curious. I don't know. I wish I could. I wish I knew whose idea I just stole. I don't know, but sorry about that.
Here's another thing. UNC, we're black. Hey, are you going to the game? We're black. What happens when that's a noon game?
Exactly. That's the other aspect.
Fan base to pass out in the stands. I don't know. I just don't get it.
That's the other aspect of it. So I don't know. It just
actually the one home game that they designated for white is the one game we know is a night game.
For First Frost 2, right?
Yes, for First Frost 2. So the good reason I'm not actually upset about that. It's just funny, and it goes against my point, so I'm going to make fun of it.
I don't know. It is. It's just. It also would be cool. It'd be a cool atmosphere thing. Like every night game being a blackout. Like that would be.
Plus, you do that for like one season, and everyone just gets it, and you don't have to do the whole like, oh, what do we wear? It's like, oh, the game's at night. I'll wear my black UCF shirt. The game's during the day. I'll wear my white UCF shirt. Wild Bill will just wear gold like he always does. Everyone wins. Everyone wins.
Listen, he's actually pretty good about following directions. I will say. Credit to Wild Bill. I miss that guy. I can't wait to see him.
Can't wait to say that I can't come down because
yeah, it's gonna be exciting. My favorite tradition every week is Christian being like, I gotta go up to the press box. All right,
I'm pretty sure I saw whatever. This is too inside baseball. Whatever. All right, on with the rest of the podcast.
I know what you were gonna say. You were gonna say you're gonna live off the one time in 2023 when you came down to meet everybody. And then,
that's right.
And then went back up. Yeah,
that is correct.
Jaden Nixon, who we just mentioned earlier as the preseason superstar, was named to the Paul Hornung Award watch list, which is the award given to college football's most versatile player. And then Paul Rubelt was named to the Werfel Award watch list, which is given to the college football player who best combines community service excellence with leadership excellence on and off the field. So those, again, a couple watch list announcements this past week. And then the preseason coaches poll, as we mentioned earlier, is out. Arizona State, as far as Big 12, Arizona State is at 11. They're the highest ranked Big 12 team right now. Kansas State's at 20, Iowa State at 21, BYU at 22, Texas Tech at 24, and then a bunch of Big 12 teams are receiving votes. Utah would be around 30th, Baylor would be 31st, TCU would be 38th, Colorado 45th, and Kansas 49th. And then this was a late addition to the news just before we got on the podcast, but for anyone in East Orlando or in the Orlando area, maybe as you're listening to this, it'll be tonight. But on Tuesday night from 6 to 8 p.m., Terry Mohajir and some of the UCF Athletics Association staff will be at Miller's Ale House in Waterford Lakes. They put out the UCF Fan Experience put this out and said there's no agenda, no formal anything. They're just there to talk, I guess. So that's interesting.
I don't know what the hell is going on half the time at this point. I don't understand how the UCF Fan Experience account, which is like one of the smaller accounts that UCF Athletics has access to, basically announced where Mohajir will be dining tomorrow night and was like, come say hey. I really badly need to know what the backstory was, because I feel like there's a high chance the backstory was like Mohajir was just like gonna be at Ale House and was like, hey, we should tell people to come say hey. But not to allow you all to stalk me, but I live about 90 seconds from that Ale House. And I'm wondering if I should pop by and see what's going on.
I told you to go.
Here's my issue with that. One, my antisocial personality. And two, how many UCF fans are going to show up to this thing that they tweeted from an account that has 2,000 followers?
Some.
Do you really think? Like, I'm serious. Like, who do you think is going to be there? Like, will there be more than 10 UCF fans who go to this?
I think there'll be more than 10.
Okay. I guess the tweets actually picked up a little bit. People are retweeting it, so maybe. But I'm curious. I might walk in like a disguise of some sort, like sunglasses and like a cap, and just like get the lay of the land, and then quietly report.
I'm not saying you're wrong, because we do get like people do come up to us, but like I love the idea like of you being like, I have to disguise myself.
Oh no! Hold on. I was in no way saying that because I thought people were going to recognize me. I just don't want to participate. Like I want to.
Oh, okay.
Hear what No. I did not mean that as a like, don't come talk to me. You're always welcome to come talk to me if you see me. I don't want to participate. I just want to hear whatever bombshells he will obviously be dropping at this when asked questions.
You know what you should do is you should go buy him a couple drinks, and then I'm sure he'll just start talking. Like he's probably going to be talking anyway, but
someone could just be like, Terry, how much are you guys paying Taven? Like, hey, we might get an answer. Like, I don't know.
Who's the quarterback going to be? You should be like, well,
where's UCF's international game going to be? In what year? Yeah. Like, I just feel like there's a lot on the table here to ask about.
Something will come out of that, I'm sure. Unless
if someone's there to report it.
Somebody goes like with somebody from the reason the other UCF Athletic Association staff members are going to be there is to like basically be Terry's keeper to make sure he doesn't say anything stupid or say anything he's not supposed to say.
I don't know. I kind of want to go. I'll have to think about it. I have about 24 hours to decide. We'll see.
Just about. You know what? Tweet of the week. Tweet of
the week is back after a long, almost friendship-ending hiatus where I asked Bailey questions that make him very angry. Tweet of the week has returned. We announced the return last week because I said that we were at the time of year where people start to say dumb things, and boy, was a dumb thing said today on Twitter. This dumb thing was said by Sidelines UCF, an account that if you are on Twitter, you know. I have to say, this tweet that they tweeted, I can't overstate how hard this is in this day and age, got 0 likes. A report came out recently that 75% of Twitter activity is activity by bots, and somehow this tweet was so bad it still got 0 likes. No one liked this tweet. It did get many replies and many quote tweets. That tweet was Sidelines UCF replying to JP Gilbert, who we all know and love, and he said, they're talking about the quarterback rankings list that Chris Boyle put out at the Daytona Beach News Journal, which, by the way, you should go read. I agreed with like the vast majority of it, and I think fans are picking some dumb hills to die on. There was a little bit of an argument about where players were ranked. Quick caveat before I read this tweet, it's going to require me to say something that I usually am not allowed to say on this podcast, but we're suspending.
Yeah, we're lifting the ban. Lifting the ban
for 3 weeks, so I can say it. Sidelines UCF tweeted, Jeff Godfrey was a horrendous quarterback, and Plumlee was much better. So I think we've been tweeting the week about 2 or 3 years now. This might be one of the stupidest ones we've had to talk about. And I'm surprised that it's coming from like a fairly large UCF account because it's just such a wildly insane thing to say. I'm not even planning on touching the JRP debate part of it because that almost pales in comparison to calling Jeff Godfrey a horrendous quarterback. If you're a younger UCF fan, Jeff Godfrey came in and as a true freshman, won UCF their second ever conference title and led them to their first ever top 25 season. I don't know what I know that there's this thing that's happened in the fan base, and I'm not blaming you if you're a part of it because we're all victims of our own era. But there's a pretty growing chunk of the fan base that's coming in the like post 2017 that seems to think that just everyone sucked before 2017. And to take Jeff Godfrey, by the way, Jeff Godfrey is a true freshman in 2010, completed 67% of his passes for 2,100 yards and 13 touchdowns. He also ran for 566 yards and 10 touchdowns. What a bum. What a terrible quarterback. I can't believe. I mean, what are we doing? How is that possibly a take that someone could have? Tweet of the week is back with a bang because that is just such pure, unbridled nonsense that it hurts my soul that there is a real UCF fan who runs a significant UCF account who could call Jeff Godfrey horrendous.
My favorite reply is actually it's not my favorite reply because JP Gilbert's was my favorite, but one of the replies said, not going to lie, I feel like you were being held hostage.
Horrendous QB.
Yeah, I'm glad Tweet of the Week is back so it doesn't bother me with your pick that portal player segment anymore. And that was quite a tweet to return with.
Yeah, that was we could go the whole season and not get one that dumb. I mean, that is crazy. That is just
another weird thing just happened where like I mentioned, I did the podcast before this, and I've been wearing the same AirPods. My AirPods just told me that they died, but I'm still hearing through them. So
okay, Bailey's AirPods have become ghosts. I have to say one more thing really quickly, and we'll see if Bailey can hear me. Because I've been thinking about this, just because the Godfrey thing, I've been stewing on it all day, and I'm not sure I'm done talking about it. And we're only now at 59 minutes, so I have a second here. Mm-hmm. I promise you something, Bailey. If Kane Archer comes in next year and is a very good quarterback and goes on to be like the next guy for UCF, you will get, I think, maybe like 1 or 2 years down the road. And one day you will open Twitter or whatever godforsaken app we are on those days, and you're going to see a UCF fan get 60 likes for going, Mackenzie Milton was overrated and sucked. And Kane Archer would have put up 60 touchdowns against G5 competition. And that will be the day I quit.
Yeah.
I will be gone.
Well, you say it'll get 60 likes. It might just get 0 likes like this one did.
I don't know, but like this is a symptom. Like this is a thing. Like I don't know. I just it's frustrating me. The guys, you can like appreciate the current era of UCF and also not be stupid. Like you can do both those things at the same time, and I highly recommend it. But yeah, excited for football, man.
I can't wait. I really can't. I did tell you today that I realized that I may be officiating a wedding during week 0, the first game, the game in Ireland, Farmageddon. And I will be figuring out a way after the ceremony either to have that game on my phone, or I don't know if I'm going to be supposed to be sticking around. But yeah, I gotta watch some of that game, man, because I've been looking forward to that for a while.
One of the things I love that we do on this podcast is allow little windows into our lives, such as you're officiating a wedding and you're not sure if you're going to stay for the ceremony. I think we should not explain that at all. It's just
all right.
And we'll just let that.
No, the ceremony is what I'm doing. That's
well, you know, not that you know what I mean.
The reception,
the post game, yeah, the reception.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll stick around for the post game. It's gonna be a story, a fun story day, because it's gonna be me officiating a wedding in the middle of the day, and then that night covering a Bucks preseason game at the stadium.
Normal day in the life of Bailey.
Yeah, I guess that's what I do in my life. Yeah, we'll be back next week.
If you're getting married and you're looking for someone to officiate,
don't do that. Don't. I just told you earlier. I never thought I'd be doing this again. I did my brother and his wife's wedding back in 2023, and I never thought I'd do it again. And now I'm being asked to do it again, so I'm doing it. But
if you like the podcast and you're getting married, Bailey will officiate the wedding. He won't say no if you ask him. He won't, and I know he won't. So feel free.
I'm gonna start. I might charge you though. I'm not charging. I didn't charge my brother, and I don't think I'm charging for this one because it's my sister-in-law's friend. So
yeah, and when he says charge, what he means is he'll give you a hearty charge on at the wedding.
Just feed me. They honestly just give me some food. That's pretty easy. But yeah, we'll be back next week with episode 280. Until then, you can find us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCASimmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being with us, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.